Hello friends, welcome back to VOW DAYS. Welcome to the Prelims test series discussion. Now we are discussing test 7 of Prelims and this is part 4. Let us quickly begin the discussion. We will start from 73rd question. So in the last video, due to some technical issue, the video got shortened. So we will continue from there. And before we discuss a small information, the document that we are using for the discussion is the Prelims test series summary document. As you all know, Vision provides solution for all the test series, for all the tests in the test series. So what we have done is we have summarized these solutions. So the 40-50 page test, 40-50 page test solution we have summarized into 10-12 pages. So through this, what we have done is we have reduced the things that you have to revise. We have reduced the content size. So and we have given all the information. We have not removed anything, but we have summarized it. Okay. So do make the best use of this. So if you just visit our Telegram channel, you will find all the details, right? So now let's quickly begin. 73rd question. This is on the free trade agreement, the FTAs. So FTAs are the arrangement between two or more countries or trading blocs to reduce and eliminate customs, tariffs and non-tariff barriers on substantial trade between them, but both maintain individual tariffs for the rest. Preferential trade agreement has positive list of products on which the duty is reduced. In the FTA, there is negative list on which duty is not reduced. FTAs are more ambitious in coverage of tariff lines on which duty is reduced. So basically, the FTAs or all these trade agreements basically is to reduce this customs duty, because these duties are something that will increase the price of the good. Let's say a good is coming from China to India. So when a good is coming from China to India, we will impose customs duty. So for this only these trade blocks are formed, because when it comes to India, if India has a trade agreement, then we will not apply any custom good. This good can be sold at less price. Because of this, what will happen? The good can be sold at less price, so more products, or you can say more number of items will be sold. At the same time, when Indian product goes to China, the same thing will happen. So for increasing the trade, these things are followed. Because in the recent times and all, we are witnessing a lot of trade talks between India and a lot of countries, for example UK and all. So just keep a close eye on this topic. It will become it is important from the examination point of view. Now the 74th question, this is on the APMC, the Agri Produce Market Committees. Agri marketing is a state subject, but intra-state trade is under the jurisdiction of state government, and interstate trade comes under Government of India. Generally, all the agri and agri marketing, it is a state subject, but the trade between two or more states comes under the union list, that is central government. APMC is a statutory market committee constituted by state government. Remember this, APMCs are constituted by state government. Once a particular area is declared as a market area and falls under the jurisdiction of market committee, no person or agency is allowed to freely carry on wholesale marketing activities except this APMC. And APMC accepts the first sale is notified in notified agri commodities produced in a region like cereals, pulses, edible oil seeds, etc. can be conducted only under the aegis of APMC, though its licensed commission agent through its licensed commissioned agents and subject to payment of various taxes and fee. APMCs charge a market fee from buyers and a licensing fee from commissioning agents who mediate between the buyers and farmers. Exporters, processors and retail chain operators cannot procure directly from farmers, as product is required to be channelized through regulated markets and licensed traders. Now let's look at the next question, the 75th question. This is on Ricardian equivalence to economic theory. What it says is the financing government spending out of current taxes or future taxes will have equivalent effect on overall economy. That means government financing, so when there are government deficits and for that financing will be done. So financing government spending out of current taxes or future taxes will have equivalent effect on overall economy. Its equivalence, as it argues that taxation and borrowing are equivalent means of financing in expenditure. When the government increases the spending by borrowing today, which will have to be paid by taxes of future, it will have the same impact on the economy as increase in the government expenditure financed by tax increase today. So what it says is, let's say the government today is financing its deficit by borrowing. So the impact what it will have today is the same. Is the same like spending the same amount in future. That means taxation and borrowing are similar kind of things. That is what it says. Next, the 76th question is on gross external debt. Gross external debt, there are two kinds of debts, internal debt and external debt. External debt is the money taken from the outside. Outside means outside the country. Outstanding amount of actual current liabilities that require payments of principal and interest by the debtor in future as per the terms laid out in the contract between the debtor and creditor and are owed to non-residents by residents of economy. The money which is owed to the foreign countries or foreign people, that is called as external debt, and it includes debt incurred by both government and private sector. It includes both government debt as well as private sector debt of economy, but does not take into account the contingent liabilities arising in the specific occurrence covered by the debt contract via default by a debtor on the principal and interest of a credit. Next, you have this long-term debt. Long-term debt means debt with original maturity of more than 1 year. More than 1 year is called long-term debt. It is classified into multilateral debt, bilateral debt, IMF signifying SDR allocations to India by IMF, export credit, commercial borrowings, NRA deposits, rupee debt. They are long-term debt. Short-term debt, short-term external debt, it is nothing but the debt repayment on the demand with maturity of less than 1 year. It is classified into trade credits of up to 6 months and above 6 months and up to 1 year, FII investment in the government treasury bills and the corporate security investments in treasury bills by foreign central bank and institutions, external debt liabilities of central bank and commercial bank. All of these things come under the short-term external debts. 77th question is on Sant Kabir. Sant Kabir Academy and Research Center under this Swadesh Darshan Yojana at Marghar, UP. It was inaugurated by President Ramnath Kovind. So back then it was Ramnath Kovind who was the president when this happened. Now president is Srimati Draupadi Murmu. So Sant Kabir belonged to this Nirguna tradition. Sant Kabir was the main member of this tradition. God was understood to be universal and formless being. Kabir's composition can be classified into 3 literary forms: dohas, short 2-liners; ramanas, rhymed 4-liners; sung compositions of varying length, padas and sabdas. Kabir synthesized Islam and Hinduism. He did not only target rituals and practices of Hindu and Islam, but dismissed the sacred authority of the religious books Vedas and the Quran. Author Manu S. Pillai writes about the combined Allah and Ram. So he wrote that Kabir actually combined both Ram and Rahim. So that's why we call that Ram Rahim. Next, 78th question is on treasury bills, the short-term money market debt instrument issued by the government with maturity less than 1 year. Anything, all these instruments which are released by the government less than 1 year, they are called as treasury bills, and they are issued in 3 tenors, namely 91 days, 182 days and 364 days. So these are zero coupon securities and pay no interest. They are issued at discount and redeemed at face value after maturity. So what does this mean? Generally, any bond or anything, any instrument, if money is taken with this instrument, then when the instrument is returned, let's say, or I'll further simplify it for you. Let's say your friend has taken money from you. From A, money is taken by B. So when the B repays the money, he will pay certain interest. Right? But if you see these treasury bills, the thing is that they will not pay any interest. Rather than while giving the bond, that means while taking the money only, the government will discount that and give. So interest is being paid, but they will not pay the interest over the bill. That means if it's a 100 rupee bill, then they will initially they will discount, let's say it is 10%, the interest rate is 10%. They will discount that 10% from this and they will purchase at 90 rupees only or 91 rupees. After that, they will add 10% to this and then they will buy this and then they will repurchase this at 100 rupees. Okay, so that means while selling, they are selling it, or you can say while the government, while taking money, they will take 90 rupees only, but while returning, they will give 100 rupees. So this is the actual concept. In India, the government of India issues these treasury bill and bonds related to dated securities. State government issues only bonds or dated securities called state development loans. The G-Secs carry no risk of default, called risk-free gilt-edged instruments. The T-bills are the debt instruments and they are liability to the government of India. RBI allowed foreign investors to invest in T-bills to bring foreign funds into market. Recently, RBI raised investment limit for FPIs in the government and corporate bonds. The short-term investment limit is now increased from 20 to 30%. This is about the treasury bills or T-bills. Next, Stockholm Plus 50. This is the international meeting convened by UNGA in Stockholm. The theme is a healthy planet for the prosperity of all our responsibility and opportunity. In 1968, Sweden first promoted the idea of Stockholm Conference, and now it is the 50th year of 1972 UN Conference on Human Environment. The aim is to assist the developing countries for safeguarding wildlife and natural resources, controlling pollution, and asserting human rights. Significance is it pushed boundaries for the UN that relied on state sovereignty and emphasized the importance of joint action for common good. Declaration acknowledged states' sovereign right to exploit their own resources. The conference also puts global inequality in the spotlight and increased awareness of environment challenges over the past 50 years, and has led to spread of national environment agencies and growth of global environment law. Next, 80th question is on infrastructure investment trust. Infrastructure, as you all know, is very important for the overall development. So for the infrastructure investments, money will be needed, long-term loans will be needed. For this only, this infrastructure investment trust is formed. So it is a mutual fund-like institution, and it enables investments into infrastructure by pooling sums of money from the multitude of individual investors for investing in infra, so as to return a portion of money to the unit holders of investments who pooled the money. And they can invest in infrastructure projects directly or through special purpose vehicle. In PPP, it can only be through special purpose vehicle, but for the government ones, they can be through direct route. They are regulated by the SEBI, and they are modified REITs, Real Estate Infrastructure Investment Trust, and designed to suit specific circumstances of India. Next, 81st question is on depreciation. In production, while producing, every machine or equipment, they will be used, right? So during this production, there will be some wear and tear in the machine, and this loss due to the wear and tear during the production is nothing but depreciation. This loss of value in the machine. It must be replaced by a part of goods produced, or else the productive capacity of the nation would be depleted. This replacement is called capital consumption allowance. So the machine, so there will be some wear and tear in the, maybe let's say this is the gear. There will be some wear and tear in this gear, and this has to be replaced after the profit. The profit, how they are getting? For production only. That is called as capital consumption allowance, right? With this allowance only, they will change the capital. So total investment of expenditure of firms is made up of two parts. One part is to buy new capital goods, and other is to replace. And this part, which is to buy the new capital and machines, it is called net investment. So gross investment includes this net investment plus depreciation, and net investment is gross investment minus this depreciation. Government decide and announce the rates by which assets depreciate, or a list is published. It is used by different sections of economy to determine real levels of depreciation and different assets. Depreciation does not involve unexpected or sudden destruction and diffuse of capital by accidents, natural calamities, etc. It does not include those things. Next, 82nd question is on GST, the goods and service tax. It's a single comprehensive indirect tax. Remember, GST is an indirect tax which has begun on 1st of July 2017. It's a destination based tax. Remember this. The state exams generally ask these kind of statements. Destination based tax. Although throughout country with one rate for one type of goods and services, it is applicable. It is levied at stages right from the manufacturer up to final consumption. Only value addition will be taxed, and burden of tax is to be borne by the final consumer. At central level, following taxes are subsumed: excise tax, additional excise tax, service tax, additional customs duty, also known as countervailing duty, and special duty allowance of customs. And at state level, following have been subsumed: state tax, state VAT, that is sales tax, luxury tax, octroi, entry tax, entertainment tax, purchase tax, tax on general ads, lottery, betting, gambling. But GST does not subsume the stamp duties. Next, 83rd question is on Lord Buddha. So his four holy relics were taken to Mongolia for 11-day exposition at a Mongolian Buddha Purnima celebration. The stupas erected over the body relics of Buddha, the Saririka stupas, which are the earliest surviving Buddhist shrines. At the age of 80, Buddha attained salvation in Kushinagar. Mallas of Kushinagar cremated his body. His relics from funeral pyre were collected and divided into 8 shares to be distributed among the Ajatashatrus of Magadha, Lichavis of Vaishali, Shakyas of Kapilavastu, Mallas of Kushinagar, Bulis of Allakappa, Mallas of Pava, Koliyas of Ramagrama, and a Brahmana of Vetapida. Two more stupas came up, one over the urn in which the relics have been collected and other on the embers. This is about the relics of Buddha and all. Next, 84th question is on insurance schemes, various insurance schemes. First is PM Suraksha Bima Yojana. Suraksha Bima, this is basically for the safety net, and it covers the accident death risk. 2 lakhs for the premium and rupees 12 per year will be collected. It will cover all savings bank accounts and post office account holders of 18 to 70 years for accident, disability and death. Risk coverage rupees 2 lakhs for the accidental death and full liability of rupees 1 lakh for partial disability. Next is the PM Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana. It's an insurance scheme for 18 to 15 years for natural and accidental death. Risk of up to 2 lakhs for the premium and rupees 330 per year will be collected. It will cover all savings account holders for death due to any cause. So this is purely for death, and this Suraksha Bima, it's basically for death as well as disability. Right. Next, patent. Patent is a statutory right for invention which is granted for a product for a limited period of time to the patentee by the government in exchange for full disclosure of his invention, for excluding others, for making or using or selling the product or the imported patented product or process for the production of the particular type of product, and for those purposes without his consent, not content, consent. It means if a person if he builds any new thing, if it's a new invention, then he will be granted patent so that no one will be able to use this process or this kind of thing for developing that product. And an invention may satisfy the condition of novelty, inventiveness and usefulness, but do not qualify for patent under following conditions. First is a frivolous invention or which claims anything contrary to the well-established natural laws. An invention primary or intended use or commercial exploitation of which could be contrary to public order or morality. Discovery of scientific principles or formulation of abstract theory, or discovery of living thing or non-living substance which is occurring in nature. Next, a novel method of agri or horticulture, a process for medical, surgical, curative, phyrophytic or other treatment of human beings, or any process for similar treatment of animals, or to render them free of diseases or to increase their economic value and or that of the products. The plants and animals in whole or any part thereof, including seeds, varieties of species, and essentially biological process for production or propagation of plants and animals other than microorganisms. This means plants and animals cannot be patented, whereas process can be. Inventions relating to atomic energy, they also cannot be patented. The others are just given here, like dance, drama and all, they cannot be patented. Invention which is traditional knowledge of that means when there is traditional knowledge involved, or the scheme or method of performing mental act of playing a game, or presentation of information, or mathematical or business method. Next, the 86th question is on commercial bank. The financial institutions that take up deposit, check account services, make loans, basic financial products like certificates of deposits and saving accounts to individual and small business. Asset is reserve, that means vault cash plus deposit with RBI, plus the bank credit, that means loans and investments. Liabilities are the debts or what a firm owes to others, that is liability. Next, 87th question is on BrahMos supersonic cruise missile. There are two types of missiles, the cruise missiles and the ballistic missile. Cruise missiles generally, they are the ones which will use all the motors and engines for the travel, and they follow the path of the ground. On the other hand, ballistic missile follow the projectile trajectory. BrahMos, it was tested for the first time from the land-based launcher in Chandipur. That's why it was in use. It was launched from the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program led by Dr. Abdul Kalam, and it includes it is developed from Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. and it includes various missiles like Prithvi, Agni, Trishul, Akash and Nag. An intergovernment agreement signed with Russia in Moscow led to its development. BrahMos is a two-stage missile with solid propellant booster engine. In the first stage, the first stage brings missile to supersonic speed and then gets separated. The liquid ramjet or the second stage takes the missile closer to 3 times the speed of sound in the crucial phase. It operates on fire and forget principle. That means once it is fired, it cannot be stopped. Next, 88th question is on the fishing cats census by Chilika Development Authority plus Fishing Cats Project in the Chilika Lake, which is the Asia's largest brackish water lagoon. It said that there are about 176 fishing cats. Fishing cat means it's a cat with a powerful body and stalk legs. It's an adaptive swimmer and enters frequently in the water to catch the fish, and its name suggests, it is twice as the size of a normal cat, and the favorable spot is the wetlands for them. And it is listed as endangered according to IUCN Red List. It is in the Schedule 1 of Indian Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 and protected from hunting. In India, they are in mangroves of Sundarbans, foothills of Himalayas along the Ganga and Brahmaputra Valley, and the Western Ghats. West Bengal declared it as the state animal in 2012. Authorities in Chilika named the cat as Lake's ambassador in 2020. 89th question is on second 5-year plan, which is from 1956 to 61. It is the P.C. Mahalanobis plan, where he planned for huge industrialization. He put India on the path towards industrialization. The decision to develop India economically on the socialist lines led to the policy of state controlling commanding heights of economy. The state would have complete control of the industries which are vital for the economic policies, and private sector would have to complementary all the things which are set up by the government. Next, 90th question is on Monetary Policy Committee. Monetary Policy Committee is the committee that sets up the interest rates. It is set up for price stability and inflation targeting. Government of India constitutes this Monetary Policy Committee through notification and through the official gazette. It includes 6 members, 3 from RBI and 3 from outside. The RBI governor, who is the chairperson of this committee, RBI deputy governor will be there, who is in charge of monetary policy, and one nominee by RBI board will be there, and the remaining 3 would be nominated by the Government of India. The nominees are appointed by Government of India based on recommendation of Search cum Selection Committee consisting of Cabinet Secretary, RBI Governor, Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs, Minister of Finance, and 3 experts in the field of economy, banking, as nominated by the government. These central government nominees appointed by Search cum Selection Committee, they hold for the term of 4 years. Next, the champion service sector. 12 sectors were identified as the champion service sector, where the government want to give focused attention to promote their development and realizing their potential. It is a central sector scheme, umbrella scheme of Department of Commerce for a period of 2019-20 to 23-24. Fund of 5,000 crore corpus have been further proposed to establish and to support the initiatives for the sector action plans of champion sector. Includes IT and IT enabled services, tourism, hospitality service, medical value travel, transport and logistics, accounting and financing, audiovisual services, legal services, communication services, the construction and related engineering services, environmental service, financial service, and education services are also there. Biotech, pharma, medical devices, they have been classified under the champion manufacturing sector. So the champion service sector is basically the sectors which are identified where the government has to give more attention, or the government is trying to give more attention, so that these sectors can be promoted and their full potential can be realized, because service sector contributes hugely to the economy and it also has a huge potential as well. So that's what we are trying to tap on. Next, the 92nd question is on Iraq's Pearl of South Lake, Sawa. It has run dry amid the water crisis. The dams on Euphrates in Turkey reduced the water discharge in Iraq, led to the severe environmental change by drying the Sawa Lake in the southern Iraq. It is formed over the limestone rock and studded with gypsum formations and has no inlet or outlet. So remember, Sawa Lake is in Iraq. Sawa in Iraq. Next, the enhanced access to service excellence, ease, So it evolved. So they evolved for 4 annual editions from 2019-20. The EASE 5.0 is a common reform agenda developed for public sector banks. PSB Manthan 2022, organized in April 2022, paved way for EASE Next. It will comprise of 2 initiatives. EASE 5.0, common for PSB reform agenda. Bank specific strategic sector. Bank specific strategy, not strategic sector. Bank specific strategy for 3 years, and the roadmap on the basis of individual banks' business priorities. EASE 5.0 is where the PSBs will be investing in new age capabilities, the focus on digital consumer experience, plus integrating an inclusive banking, emphasis on supporting agriculture and small business. All PSBs will create a bank specific for 3 years. Strategic roadmap will be there, and it will entail strategic initiatives beyond EASE 5.0. So remember, what is EASE? So that will be a simple question. So this is basically the reforms for the banks, PSB reforms. 94th question is on diabetes, type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is the autoimmune condition where body's immune system destroy the islet cells or the pancreas that produce insulin, the hormone that controls the glucose level in the blood, by increasing or decreasing the absorption to the liver, fat and other cells of the body, that is the insulin. And it is diagnosed generally in children and adolescents. Genetic factors, if you see, the risk of the disease in a child is 3%, if the mother has it, 5% when the father has it, and 8% when a sibling has it. The presence of genes like DR3, DQ2 and DR4, DQ8 is 30 to 40% in type 1 diabetes patient, with always 2.4% in the general body. Type 2 diabetes is 90% of all diabetes cases in India. The body's insulin production goes down, or cells become resistant to insulin and can be managed by using pills. Diabetic ketoacidosis is the type where the body has high concentration of ketones produced when the body is not able to absorb glucose for energy and starts break down its own fats. This is actually used in the keto diet. Next, the personal income. The income received by all households, all individuals in a year, including transfer payments like LPG subsidies. Undistributed profits means the profits which are not distributed. Out of the national income earned by the firms and government enterprises, part of profit is not distributed among factors of production, that means land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. The national income has to be deducted up to arrive at this personal income. Okay, so only if these profits are divided, if these profits are removed from the national income, then the personal income is something that we will arrive to that. Corporate tax is the tax that is imposed on the earnings of the firm, will have to be deducted from national income. The households receive interest payments from the private firms or government on past loans advanced by them, and the households may have to pay interest to the firms or the government if they had borrowed some money. So we have to deduct the net interest paid by the household to the firms and the government. So personal income is national income minus undistributed profit minus net interest payments made by the household minus the corporate tax plus the transfer payment. This is called as personal income. Okay, so personal income, as it includes all the people, the factors and everyone. So this is the formula. The transfer payments to the households from the government and the firms are added to the national income to arrive at the personal income. Next, you have two accounts, current account and the capital account. The question is on that. Current account means it records the trade in goods and services and transfer payments, trade in goods, export and import of goods, trade in services, factor income and non-factor income transactions, the transfer payments, if you see, the receipts which the residents of the country get for free without having to provide any goods and services. For example, the grants, the gifts, the remittances and all. It could be given by the government or the private citizen living abroad. Next, the capital account is record of all international transaction of assets like money, stock, bond, government debt, etc. The purchase of asset, debit item on capital account. Items are the FDIs, foreign institutional investments, external borrowings and assistance. Next 97th question is on some important concepts. Surplus current account, where the nation is the lender to other countries. Deficit current account, that means nation borrows from other countries. Balance on the current account has two components: balance of trade, balance of invisibles. Balance of trade means difference between value of export and value of import of good in a given period of time. That is called is the balance of trade. Export of goods is entered as a credit, whereas import of good is a debit. So like this we can know the trade balance. Net invisible is the difference between the value of exports and imports of invisibles of a country in a given period of time. Invisibles are the services, transfers and flow of income between the different countries. The surplus in current account does not imply surplus balance of trade. Even when there is deficit in balance of trade, surplus and balance of invisible result in current account surplus. So invisible means the difference between the value of export and import, because they are not invisible, like the services, the service transfers and all. The items are visible, but the services, they are invisible. Next 98th question is again on some important concept. The bank rate. This is the rate charged by RBI for lending funds to commercial banks. Repo rate is the rate at which RBI lends money to the commercial banks. Rate of interest is the interest offered by the bank to the deposit holders. Next 99th question is on factor cost. The cost of item of goods and services in terms of the factors which played a part in the production of availability. So factors of production generally are land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. They provide for rent, wages and interest and profits. The factor cost means the cost of all these things. It includes only payments to the factors of production and it does not include any tax. So generally the production cost basically is the factor cost. That means the total cost without the tax, that is called as factor cost. And the last question is with regard to the new economic policy of 1991. This new economic policy of 1991 has opened up the Indian economy. It was launched under P.V. Narasimha Rao. It involved economic liberalization, deregulation of markets, opening up of markets for private and foreign players, reduction of taxes, and also the liberalization, privatization and globalization. And it took place in the following forms. Industrial licensing was abolished, because earlier the government used to give licenses for all, only then they can form the company. But now this was removed except for a few categories like alcohol, cigarette, hazardous chemical and all. The financial sector, in this the private sector banks were allowed, both Indian and foreign. Tax reforms are brought in, many procedures were simplified and rates were lowered. Forex reforms were brought in, where rupee was devalued and it is left to the market. RBI did not manipulate is a strong word, but you can say that RBI did not control is not controlling the rupee anymore. It is the market forces that control the rupee. And next is the trade and investment policy. This trade and investment policy basically it is aimed at dismantling of the quantitative restriction on import and export, reduction of tariff rates, removal of licensing procedures for the imports. They come under this. So this is about the new economic policy. Okay. So these are the questions of the day. These are the questions for today. We will meet again tomorrow and we will start the new test, that is test 8. Okay. So till then keep studying and stay tuned. We'll meet again tomorrow in the next session. In the next session. Bye bye. All the best.